Hello everyone and welcome again. So let's do a visual study of the real reference and see what we need to do to recreate that. Now looking at this, let me pause this, put this over. Now looking at this, the main thing that stands out to me is the pattern that shows up towards the end. Everything here is very uniform. Like you get one ring, you can see the ring here, a second ring, and then more ripples as it gets further and further, which is not exactly what I had. I've decided to do something a bit different, but this is totally fine. If you want to pursue this route and recreate this visual, this is perfectly fine. You would have to find this exact pattern and make it repetitive as it goes further away from the center, because here everything is very similar. And you can read one block, you can read this, and then multiple ones. So we could go with this thing and try to replicate this, but what I wanted to do is something different. I didn't want just the ground to collapse and stop there. I wanted it to have more energy. I wanted it to be a lot more dynamic so I can create something more interesting. Because this one is very interesting, very, very large, but it doesn't have movement, doesn't have anything. And the other thing that stands out to me is the way it is expanding and collapsing. So there is two rings. You can see the expansion ring is happening faster than the collapse, and it reaches its maximum radius, but it's still collapsing. It reaches its maximum size before it finishes collapsing. It's basically the under the ground, the gap was created quickly, and it was the ripple of that was showing, the shock wave was showing on the ground, and then also the falling, the collapsing was coming later. So there's two things here, and I'm gonna have Jaden's reference, because they did something very similar. So you can see the ring, this expanding at the same time. It's a bit different than the one in the anim where the ring is expanding faster. So here it's very linear. Both of them are happening at the same time, and then this part. But there is also a lot of all these bits here is all done in comp. So there's just a transition between A and B. The geometry is not moving, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted to have all these pieces get shot in the air, rotate, and then we get all the cool debris and stuff. So this is also a great reference, one of the best effect shots that I have as a reference all the time. I think it's really, really cool. But for me, I wanted something more accurate, and that's where I started looking at what else can we do. So here, I'm gonna play mine. You can see at the beginning, there is a small wiggle of something happening under the surface. You can see it here. Sorry, let's go back. You can see here there is a wobble, and then it starts to collapse and hits the center, and then boom, everything explodes at the same time. So the timing is different, but it worked for me really well. So now the issue is, how can we get this to work with that massive RBD sim? How can we get the perfect timing that we want and be it realistic? I've tried so many things. I've tried so many approaches using primarily subsolver, deforming like I did quickly with the RBD test, having a flat plane, which we're going to look at, having a flat plane that I deform and try to animate that curvature. I tried to animate the RBD, pardon me, I tried animating the packed primitives by hand. It didn't work well, so I ended up using a rigid body simulation approach that also has control, that I can control how fast the ground collapses and how fast it expands, and I can also inject energy, because that's what I want. I want this after the impact happens. I want the pieces to flip, especially towards the end. I want all that chaotic stuff because I'm gonna add the fire underneath. So I want things to shoot like this and have it be explosive underneath. Okay, I'm not gonna discuss the spaceship at the moment, so we'll talk about that later. Okay, so this is for the visual study. I'm gonna start doing some Houdini in the next video. Thank you guys, and see you in a bit.